Ready or not? For me, probably not. I haven't done much mental rehearsing for this Friday Live, and I'm not quite sure my winsome manner is going to carry me through in terms of any reason you should watch. Let's see if I can come up with something interesting. One is that we have been uh, doing the summer thing here, and in the absence of all those camps and stuff that kids can do, there's been a lot of, gee, how am I going to manage kids? And it's been actually better than I'd feared. The main thing is just that I get really worn out toward the end of it, but so do they. And then that's not really the best because we should all just basically crash, but nobody crashes. But aside from that, there is plenty of reasonably fun things that have been happening. Um, I am not the primary advocate, or just say personal preference wise, it's not really for me the latest version of Dungeons and Dragons, but Eric, of course, had to have the latest and greatest, and so he's been seeking play. There's been a reasonably, in fact, I would say a remarkably successful Three Edwards Kids extravaganza of role playing. They are shockingly good at it, and perhaps um, I have been a little bit remiss, except that when I've tried to do stuff with them before, they often melt down. But strangely enough, not in this activity. I think I've mentioned this before, but this, anyway, we did it again, and that was way fun. Imagine, if you will, the tiefling sorcerer woman and the half orc folk hero with a drinking problem, and the beholder, monster, friendly monster, floating eyeball zapper kind of monster. So the three of them had another adventure, or part of one, and we continue with that, which is plenty of fun. Now that's all fine, and the apples are back on the trees after their haircut last year in the spring, which basically meant they didn't have any apples. And this year, it looks like we're going to get another set of bucket loads of them, to the extent where I'll be making regular visits down the way to the place where they make cider and saft and stuff like that. And so you deliver your zillions of apples and you get this many, credits, and then you go in the store and you go home with a bunch of bottles of cider and whatnot and jam and whatever. So it's a pretty good deal, actually, because, you're basically just pulling apples by the buckets. And you can barely keep ahead. I mean, you make all the pies you want to and all the stuff you want to make or could make and dry the slices as much as you want. You're still going to be up to your eyeballs in apples. So with that and the grapes out there, with the red currants booming in the backyard, all of which is hitting hard about right now, or will be by a month, is when we're really going to be inundated. So that's just one of those terrible, terrible things about life. Less humorously terrible, still fighting the taxes. There was, okay, you know what VAT is, right? In English, it's sales tax, but it's a big deal here because a great deal of Sweden's public financing comes from charging a substantial sales tax, 25%. So when you buy something in Sweden, 1/5 of that is the tax, and that's going straight off to all the things we like. So anyway, it's an interest, like I said, it's that interesting, logom. Or is it capitalist? Well, I don't know. It's consumption. It's buying things and making things, and it's investing in things and getting returns on things. And yeah, but and it's this public funding thing. So which is it? And the Swede kind of goes, oh, just enough. Now, whether that's wimpy or whether that's, important. Have I talked about logom before? I might have. Idiomatic translation, just enough. And every person I know here has a love-hate relationship with it. In many ways, it's seen as weaselly or wimpy or, just accommodating. You succeed by accommodating. Where's the pride in that? And so there's a certain, and taking it to personal behavior, which is, don't ask for too much, don't overdo, don't, stand out, that kind of thing. A lot of people I know have a lot of trouble with that as a directive in life, and I can see that. On the other hand, if you demonstrate the converse, I mean, you don't do it, then then all of a sudden they're all for it. They're like, what are you doing? That's not right. And you're like, that was just what you were complaining about not being able to do. So anyway, the relationship is dicey, and yet there's pride in not being stupid. Is the middle way always the right way? No. And so that important point will be raised by anyone here when they're irritated by the particular application that's being invoked at the moment. So yes, this is a very logom society, but it is a fraught term and so subject to intense objection, correction at the same time. So you're being, it's being objected to as something that, I have to do, but it's being corrected when you don't do it. And that's sort of a factor of being here. Well, anyway, so I have, run into this in a good way, been very happy with it. I've run into it in a tougher way and been frustrated here and there. But so far, I would have to say on the whole, call me the cautious fan. Now, what are some other, important points to raise? I am looking at my YouTube subscribers, and there were 350, and one went away, which is the first time anyone ever unsubscribed. And pretty sure I know why, because there came a point, anybody in Adept Play knows that, there came a point when I looked at an interview that I'd done recently and realized I hadn't done quite as much investigation, as I should into the character of the person. And it wasn't dreadful. And the person did actually was, perfectly professional interview. So I had no real, no idea. But long and short, don't really want to be associated with this person. They're not and as far as I can tell, evil. But as far as I'm concerned, there are things that are pretty evil. And to be taking sides on that material right now is, or ever, is just not where I want to be. And I have a particular freedom in my life, always have, about being able to associate with the people I want to, and I don't have to. I mean, that's one of the interesting things about my professional life all these years, is being able to say, well, no, I don't have to, put up with that. And no, I don't have to keep saying I have to. Well, I don't, just because I have this job here. And that seems to baffle, department heads, that particular point, or colleagues, or, administrators in particular. They're baffled. They're like, but you have to. And I'm like, why? And they're like, and then kind of realize they don't really know why. Well, too bad. Well, anyway, so I have that going for me one way or the other. You can also count my promotions, see the results of that in some ways, if not other things. I give you a guess. It's a pretty easy number to guess. So anyway, the point though is that I'm cool with saying, this guy, well, I got to say, we're not doing that again. And I'm going to put this thing up on my site. I'm not taking down the post, and I'm not making anything about how he should take down the video or anything, or any of that stuff. I mean, in fact, if he took it down, I'll put up my version of it, which I've got. And so, because it's real, right? You own things, and I'm not ashamed of the content. That's not the issue. So, we're not going to do any cover up, right? We're not going to erase things and cancel things. And cancel culture is a controversial thing, and I just don't have to jump in the middle of that thing. So there you go. But anyway, that means that I'm at 349 now. a number is just a number, right? 347 to 348. It's no big change. Back and forth, no big change. 349 to 350, there's a zero. Ooh, just a zero loss kind of smarts, which is stupid, admittedly. So here is what I'm asking from YouTube subscriber people. Am I asking you to go and go ye forth and seek out people who might be interested? Well, yeah, but I mean that's implicit, right? That's what social media is for. Yes, go seek out people who are interested and get them to sign up, please. Who? Obviously, everybody does that all the time with these things, so that's cool. But I'm actually talking about something else. My video output is insane. I put an enormous amount of time into this. And oh, by the way, thanks to Jerry Grayson for sending me new logos. I'm just starting to incorporate them in the headers, and I'll be incorporating them into the introductions in a bit when I have some design work time. But they're really cool. So anyway, I'm putting a lot of effort into this. Just this last week, I put up session 2 of consulting for 2 different clients. I put up a whole bunch of actual play stuff with the RuneQuest game, the Champions game, and the first Ottoman Empire game that I'm doing as a professional author for another company. And I'm quite psyched about all of those, but it's a lot of videos. And now here's the thing. I do naturalistic play. I've talked about this before. Naturalistic play. I'm not performing. This is not an audience activity, but strangely enough, because of its intimacy and because of the verbally shared nature of the medium, it is a very accessible activity, particularly when it's not in performance mode. So it's more of a participatory mode. And I think that a lot of the videos, the one I'm going to recommend is anything I've done that says RuneQuest Spielens Hus. If you haven't clicked on them, and maybe when you do and you just see these heads floating there talking, and it's, why am I listening to these people talking? I mean, what's that? I mean, they don't. Try a bit. If you've never done any role playing, click on one of the RuneQuest Spielens Hus videos, and sometimes one person is talking for a while, and that's fine. But I want you to focus on the time when a number of people are talking back and forth, and the contributive and participatory and most above all responsive activity of what we're doing. It's not freeform role playing. We are working with a systemic method of talking and establishing fiction. It's different from just making it up. So check it out. I'm not talking from one of the videos is 15 minutes. All right. So not asking for more than that, but check it out and see if you can tell what we're doing. And I'd love to hear from you about that, because it's the people who haven't been role playing or don't know much about it that I'm actually doing this. Well, I don't want to say for, that sounds like I'm, making you. I have been doing this with that set of people, which is considerable numbers wise, in mind. So let me know what you think. I am more than curious. This is a career decision for me. A what am I doing here decision. Is this happening? Is this working decision? So thanks again.